think of something.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Hope and the Truth. This is LP. We're doing audio testimony today. How is everyone? So we figured we'd get one more showing before I leave for Guatemala. So with me today, Tammy. How are you?
All right.
We're going to be speaking about some stuff. Thank you for your service. You are a veteran. With what branch were you with?
I've been with the Air Force Reserve, Navy Reserve, and Air National Guard.
Wow. How long did you serve for?
22 and a half years.
That's quite a, thank you. That's quite a thing. What are some of the things that you've done? Because we've actually met at a high desert state prison. We were there for the Veteran Incarcerated Awards.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my first time being at the prison. I didn't realize they offered those awards. What organization were you there with at the time?
I was under the Nevada Department of Veteran Services.
Okay. What are you hoping to do? I know that you do a lot. So what goal-wise do you look to do to help people in need, especially having been a veteran yourself? What do you think are some of the needs that people are looking for that are not being offered from your own experience?
Well, be able to help the veterans because they also did their time too in serving for our country, and also I think they deserve it. I mean, they sacrificed for us too, and I thought they deserve ourselves too, that we can give back to the community.
No, I think it's important. I think a lot of people have an idea of what they think services are being provided. I think the general population thinks that one thing's happening, and then when they get out there in reality, they go, that's not what's going on at all. I know a lot of people have negative experiences with the VA. I'm not going to bash the VA, but a lot of people want to go out there and help, and they don't know where to start. What are some things that you, being a veteran yourself, you see a need for? Just from your own experience with people that you've worked with and just what you see in other people, that services that...
From the VA side?
No, in general. I mean, just open, not in the VA side, but just open to people, some of the services that need to be provided. Even if I know that a lot of stuff's being told that it's being offered, but you kind of see a different side of what's actually being offered.
Well, what we're doing right now, I'm in a different organization as well. I mean, Concerned Veterans for America.
Okay.
I'm also doing that. We do the phone bank and also for the health care, also to get more people involved in promoting the vet choice, getting them more into, keep it going, because during the election and stuff, at least our president is supportive to their veterans, and that's a good thing. And also I'm doing for the missing veterans who are not been buried, and we need to identify them and get their unclaimed remains identified from the VA, and then be able to bury them with honor and respect. So we're just doing a lot of different things that I think that is really helping the veterans and giving them what they deserve.
No, I think that's great. I know I talked about this when we were at the prison, that it's interesting how incarcerated individuals and veterans, there's actually a relatability for two reasons. Number one, people are going from a controlled, organized environment into chaos, meaning coming back to the world on either thing. And a lot of times there's not good transition programs for either party. And this was a very interesting audience because it was a captive audience of where you had incarcerated veterans. So it's almost like they had multiple strikes against them, because people say, well, you have this and that, and how can you sit there and function? And the thing that we started seeing after talking to some of them was that the transition programs, meaning there's a basic thing of, well, here's what you do, and then you're back out in the world, and there was no kind of help along the way from what from what they were saying. And I go, that was one of the interesting points that was made to us. Another question, because obviously I talk about faith a lot on the show, people know how I am. My walk with the Lord, I think most people would say it started recently. How has faith affected your work, and how has it affected your life?
Oh, I really think if you don't have faith, you're just nothing there, because I feel like that your life is just would go like a turmoil of just nothing there. If who created everything in this world and got us to where, if we really have that faith, that we need to keep that within our heart and live by it, and knowing that God is there. We just gotta know that not solely everything's all in the world, because the world is sometimes could be our problem, and that if something get us down or we're in a bad place, then God is always there, and He has helped me throughout my life when I had a lot of turmoils at times. And I know that if I stay with God and praying every time, that He's always there, and He'll never leave us. We just gotta know that He's always there and trust in Him.
Always. Can you, I know I've given my testimony numerous times, people are probably sick of hearing it at this point.
Yeah.
Can you name an experience in where, you saw Christ directly in your life and help you get through an experience that you're like, there's no way I'm going to get through this, and pretty much with the grace of God and the miracles of Jesus, you got through it. Can you name an experience?
Maybe because the first time I came in the service, I was really like in a certain place that I was like, I had a test for something. I was in the service, going in the service in basic training, and I said, please get me through this. I was praying to God in a private place, and then when I did, I just then from there, when I got a little busy and tied up with my basic training, that during that time things start picking up. But there's been ups and downs in between. But being that I was very determined and hard worker, I think that really brought up where my career is today, because I'm a very determined person. I know I'm going to get somewhere, and I pray to God with it, saying that please get me through and give me the strength, and knowing that I really like to have something in life that I can help others out there besides getting myself in the world somewhere succeeding. So, I mean, that's where I feel like maybe that's where He was there, because when you're praying, I know it's only in God's time, but not in your time. So I was very impatient about it, but I guess when time has progressed, then that's when you start seeing things really fall into place.
No, I agree. I know patience was definitely a weak point for me because we're so used to planning. I know I was, and you start to see stuff's not done on your time. It's done on His time.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, why is this not happening? And a lot of people get frustrated. They're like,
I
well, I
know.
prayed, but nothing happened. I go, but there's so many things that have to fall into place. He's looking at the entire picture. We're seeing a fraction, and we're saying, why is this happening yet? And there's like 5 other things that have to happen prior to that. And so I know that can be frustrating to individuals. Now, the world's obviously changed a lot. What's some advice that you can give to people, maybe people that are getting into the military now, to a younger generation? Because you've seen a shift, obviously being in the service for 22 years. What's some advice that you would tell someone that's just maybe up and coming or going through a tough time?
Well, yes, it has changed because there's not enough discipline in basic training. I've noticed that, and they're a little more spoiled. And with advanced technology and computers, everybody's depending on it too much, and that's hurting the young people coming in. And just try to go back to the basics. I believe that because that's where we started too, basic. Because I was, I'm the more of a baby boomer side, so I still miss that time frame. That I wish we were back there, because that's more innocent time. I feel that it was, even though we've had Vietnam and all those back in the day, but I don't know. I think it's just right now it's just going too fast, technology and everything, and that I'm just hoping in the basic training, going in the military, that people will be able to know that what's it like to be a hard worker. I mean, I had to learn that on kind of the hard way myself, so that will get you through it and succeed. I mean, you get, wherever you began from the beginning, starting, and then at the end, you'll see the results, what comes down the road. I mean, if you really are determined and get your mind set on a goal and pray to God that you really like to be someone in your life, and then also contribute throughout the time too. Not to forget just only you succeeding, but you are helping to sacrifice your country too.
And that's a very interesting point that you've seen yourself, how discipline and basic training has changed over time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of interesting because you can see a parallel in the world. If you look at a lot of parents,
That's true.
It's almost like with their children, there's a lack of discipline, and it's like, no, we want to be their friends, and it's like, well, wait a minute. You can absolutely see the correlation between a lack of discipline and what's happening, the people's behavior, almost like there's an entitlement saying, well, and again, I'm not confusing discipline with abuse, But again, to keep people on a track, they have to be corrected. And I think that's what the difference being is that with discipline, it's meant for correction. It's meant out of love. It's meant
Sure.
to do a good thing. And with the lack thereof that's definitely happening now, I mean, I can't speak to the military, but you can. You can also see a change in what it's producing. You know, when
Yeah.
people go in, they go in with a true sincerity to help. The problem is this: it then falls on that organization to steer them the right way.
Yes.
And if they've changed on how they're steering people, right, you're going to negatively affect that outcome. That's what time frame would you say that you've noticed the most dramatic results? Meaning, when let's say it started getting more lax or just changed in regards to basic training, because obviously I know things change very frequently. But what would you say over a time frame? A year, 5 years, 10 years?
A few years before I got out. I retired in 2011, so I think when I was at Lackland, I noticed that people were just, the uniforms kind of changed a little bit. They were given more uniforms and stuff like that. I mean, it's like it was making, they were just having it easier than we did. They had an attitude that still didn't seem like it was corrected during that time. Of course, they were just young people still, but it's just a matter of, I know in time, I don't know how much it's really changed, but you could see even young kids on the outside, even non-military too, I could see it's just something's missing and lacking in this world. That's probably why we got problems in this world today.
Yeah. No, I think number one, as a world, the society shifted away from God. That's the biggest thing. It's interesting.
That's
it's the
true.
one thing that's the correction, which is Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
which they're starting to hold back. We see this in schools firsthand when
Mm-hmm.
they're seeing a lot more problems with everything from suicide to violence, and then they'll tell you what you can't talk about, and it's Jesus. That's everything else you can talk about, everything else, but not that. And then they're not understanding why these problems are happening. And I go, well, the solution is what you're not allowing. And so it's interesting how this seems to have permeated every part of culture, not just one, and multiple cultures. I wouldn't just say this one, I'd say all over the world from different people that we speak with, where there is a shift that's happening, whether people are aware or not. Most people that believe are very aware of what's going on, but it's interesting to see it, to put it into words, and then when you can kind of see it as one whole thing, you go, oh, that's strange how that change is happening. So what events and what plans do you have coming up? I know volunteering, I know veterans are near and dear to your heart. I know you want to be involved with prisoners and obviously help these programs go forward.
Mm-hmm.
What ideas do you have, and what would you like to do in the future to help?
For
Well, for anyone.
the inmates, the veteran inmates, if should this ever fall through for any of the programs that I can, fall under, that be able to change these veterans and get them to where they need to be at, where they want to be out of the jail, and be able to live their life in the world. I mean, and hopefully better, and know what they did, what they did in the past, and not ever go back to it, but be able to live their life they want to be happy. I mean, that's what it's all it's about.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. I think it's good to volunteer, and I think a lot of people, our society absolutely has become more selfish, and we need to become more selfless, where people are kind of looking at what they can get out of things rather than seeing how they can help someone else.
Right.
And that's really what we're here for, is to help other people. We're not here to set up paradise, even though some people would disagree with that. But I mean, that's the key thing, because the reward that to be able to help someone that's especially in a bad place, a bad position, and to show them truth, I think that goes a long way.
That's right. That's true.
And
too.
especially for
Right.
populations that don't necessarily have access, because Jesus said, "What you've done to the least of these, you've done to me." So it's not just a person that can pay you back, but it's also to people that never can. And you're not doing it for that reward. You're doing it because love your neighbor as yourself. And who's your neighbor? Well, that's everyone. That's a key thing. So being able to help, someone like inmates that again, we've all made mistakes. And it was funny, when we were at the prison, I was speaking to some of the inmates, and I go, the only difference between you and people on the outside is people are aware what you're capable of. I go, people on the outside are capable of the same things. They're just not necessarily admitting it, or it hasn't necessarily been exposed yet.
That's true.
And so that's the key thing, is that when we judge another person and say, well, this person can't be redeemed, we're forgetting what we've been saved from. And that changes the whole context of everything.
Sure does.
Anything else you'd like to add?
Oh, as far as faith and
Sure.
giving them to the prisoners, I think that's great. I mean, maybe that's, of course, that's where they didn't, where they're not, where they put themselves there already, that's what they need then in order to do the right thing and go in the right direction. Hopefully with chaplains and ministries and everything will go, be able to be there and minister them. That way they can be able to work towards that and start repenting and anything they did and realize, oh wow, this is what I did and why got me there in the first place, and then they can be able to know that where they can be able to be baptized and stuff, just to go in the right direction.
No, I think it's good. Sometimes God puts us in a position where He has our full attention.
Yeah.
And I can't think of a more captive audience than when you're in prison and then you have nothing but time to reflect on what you've done. I think all of us are taken down that path where we're shown what we've done and there's nowhere to run and there's no one to blame. And I think at that point when you can admit it, you go, because that's the key thing. If we're ignorant of something, we don't understand why it's wrong. Why would we repent? When we're shown why something is wrong, we go, oh. And then we turn from it. That's the key thing. It's one thing, admitting and then turning from it. And that's, I think, a big difference that some people are disconnected from. They don't understand how those two things relate.
Exactly.
Well, thank you for coming by and sharing your story. It was great. And we're going to have Tammy on TV too one day. So you're going to see her one day. Anyway, thank you so much for coming by today. God bless you. And as always, we'll see you next time on Hope and the Truth. Give your life to Jesus Christ. God bless.